Hello, my loves. You're here with Annette of AnnetteLeonard.com, joining you for another episode of Chronic Wellness. Thank you for being here. I am spending my last day of this series talking about the Americans with Disabilities Act and what a powerful piece of legislation. It has changed our world, quite literally. That it was the first piece of legislation of its kind on this planet. And to the best of my knowledge, it has been followed by no less than 181. That's right, 181 other countries. And I find that fact alone to be remarkable. And I think that we can often do better. And I think the only way that we do better is by imagining what that looks like and going for it. So this last video is not necessarily about the law, but about our world and the next step of what we go for. So I have mentioned here before that I am once again participating in the work of the book, because it is a workbook, written by Layla Saad, S-A-A-D, called Me and White Supremacy. It is a groundbreaking, exceptional piece of work that asks any of us who are white or white passing to really dig in on our relationship to white supremacy in a 28-day format of read a few pages and then answer some questions. Read a few pages, then answer some questions. And the work that I did today was specifically about tokenism and how that applies to BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, and people of color. And I think that, of course, tokenism can apply to any marginalized group. Those of us who are queer, those of us who are women, those of us with disabilities, those of us who are people of color. And what it made me again revisit is the idea that I cannot necessarily always think about all the people who should be at every table. That would be so hard to keep in scope or in focus. It would be so diluting for me as one person to try to do that. I would never understand the complexity or the nuances of all those issues. What I am good at is thinking about women, about queer people, about people with disabilities, and oftentimes people of color, and whether or not those voices are at the table. And beyond that, I'm oftentimes not noticing who else is there and whether or not they have representation or if their voices are being heard. And I hope that other people are paying attention to the voices of the people they are carrying on their backs, or the marginalized groups that they are representing or thinking about or caring about, the issues that matter to them and the people whose lives matter most to them, or whose issues they are caring or concerned about. And so two things about that. One, it makes me think, and it makes me want to prompt you to think about asking, when you are a part of groups, the question, whose voice have we not heard from that we need to hear from? Like, that is a question that I can put as a closing question on any agenda that I get to weigh in on. Who have we not heard from that we need to hear from? Who is not represented here that needs to be represented? Whose voice have we not listened to that we need to hear from? We can always ask this question, folks. And of course, that prompts me to think about people with disabilities, bringing it back to the ADA, y'all. Yes, I am doing a callback. I'm circling back around to the topic that I raised, which is people with disabilities. They we are hardly ever represented in entertainment, in film, in movies, in television, in radio, in any kind of media. It is rare for us to be there. And it's time for that to change. Both visible and invisible, pretty, not pretty, popular, not popular, scary, hard. We make people grapple with their frailty, their mortality, the likelihood that at some point in their lifespan they will be disabled, and that is profoundly uncomfortable. And it is time for our representation to be more accurate. And so that's what I'm naming as my final rung on this ladder that has been my series on the Americans with Disabilities Act. Where are we? I want to see us. I want to see myself represented in the faces of the people I'm watching on Netflix and the books that I'm reading and listening to, and it is time. So there it is. I want to hear about your favorite characters in movies and books and television, people with disabilities who are there in the media, showing up. What, Marlee Matlin? What? Tell me about your favorites. And until we're together again, I thank you for favoriting this white queer lady with a disability being piped in to your ears or your home. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for our relationship and this time together. And you know I want to hear from you. I'm begging you on the reg to hear from you. So sound off, and until we're together again, you know what this is. It's chronic wellness. So find ways like this to feed your spirit. Be well.